If you're not tracking your numbers properly, you're already behind your competition. That's why I created 10 different calculators that can make your life easier and allow you to scale your business. Let me walk you through them and explain step by step why and how you should use them. I use these calculators for most of my 8 and 9 figure clients that I work with. So let's dive in. Calculator number 1 is your break-even ROAS calculator. There's a lot of clients that don't know what their target should be. This is a very simplified version of a COGS and target ROAS calculator, which can help you to actually understand what your target should be. I had some clients that told me they need 4, but actually they needed like 2.2, which allowed us to scale the ad account. So basically you put here average order value, you put what percentage of your price you're actually paying to create the product, which is your cost of goods. You put percentage of dispute fee, payment processor fee, refund rates, and some additional costs. You also put shipping costs, fulfillment costs, and storage fees, and then you get total number that it costs you to actually create a product and ship it, and with all the refunds and fulfillment and pick and packs and stuff like that. Basically, what you're left with is your margins. So what you would earn if you're getting sales without the ads. But obviously you need to pay for the ads. So you know that like you have $43 to spend with. So if you spend $43 to get a sale, you're on break even, you're not earning any dollar. But the goal here is to actually earn some money. So you want to put here what your target ROAS should be. And when you put that, you get target CPA that you need to hit to actually hit that ROAS. When you hit that ROAS, this is the number that you're taking home for every sale. So in this case, it's almost 10%. Obviously, if you hit ROAS of 3.5, your CPA to hit that ROAS goes down, your profit goes up. So obviously, it's always better if you have higher AOV, and lower COGS, lower shipping, and you're actually paying less for sale. This is a great calculator that illustrates what your break-even ROAS should be, what ROAS you need to hit to actually take home some money. So if you want to take home 20%, probably you will need a higher ROAS. Let's say, okay, 4.2 probably, or something like that. So depending what your target, what your goal here is, some people operate on 10% net profit, some people operate on 20. Depending on that, what you want to take home and what is realistic, you can see what numbers you need to hit. Okay, now that we know what target we need to hit, we need to work on our funnel. So this is a calculator that I created that tells us where in the funnel could we have drops. So basically, it just tells us where people could drop off in your funnel. First, we spend money. After that, the ad is shown. People click on the ad. People land on our landing page. They proceed to product page. They add to cart. They check out and they buy with a certain AOV. So I input here numbers from the ad account: spend, CPM, click-through rate, number of landing page views, view content, add to carts, initiate checkouts, and purchases. So we can see that like average click rate here is 2. So obviously your ROAS is 1.7. If you increase that to 2.5, your ROAS automatically goes up. So in this case, you can see where in the funnel you have drops. Here I put the benchmarks for each of the drops. So let's say you should not have more than 20% of people dropping when they click on the ad until they land on your website. You should not have more than 40% of people not proceeding to your product page. You should not have more than 90% of people not adding to cart. You should not have more than 70% of people not proceeding from add to cart for checkout. Obviously, the higher, the better. If to be great, if you can have the highest click-through rate, pages loading fast, people proceed to product page almost every time they add to cart. At least, I don't know, 50% of them proceed to add to cart to checkout, 50% of them proceed to checkout to purchase. And with the higher AOV, obviously your ROAS would go up. But inputting your historic numbers would give you an indicator where in the funnel you have drops. And let's say that only 10% of people add to your cart. That's okay, that's something that I need to fix first. In addition to this, we have this model calculator, which tells us on which numbers we need to work and which numbers we need to focus on most to actually increase our ROAS. There are only 4 metrics that are impacting your ROAS: CPM, click-through rate, AOV, and conversion rate. So here, this is the average where spend is 1,000 impressions, CPMs, everything is average. But if CPM decrease, you can see that it impacts our ROAS differently. So let's say if we can get our CPM from $6 to $5, our ROAS automatically goes up. If we can get our click-through rate from 1.5 to 2. Okay, again, ROAS goes up. If we can get our conversion rate from 1.5 to, let's say, 1.75, okay, ROAS goes up. So now you need to identify which has the biggest impact, which is the easiest to implement. So if it's easier to get CPM lowered from 6.6 to 5, or is it easier to get click rate from 1 to 1.5, or is it easier to increase our conversion rate, or is it easier to increase our AOV? Obviously, this is under the assumption that every click is worth the same, and when you pay your CPMs lower, that your conversion rate would still stay the same. Often that would not be the case, but this is a perfect illustrator at what you need to hit. So based on these averages, what do you think is the easiest? Get your CPMs lower for $4, increase your click-through rate, increase your conversion rate, or increase your AOV. When you analyze it like that, it becomes clear what you need to fix. Now, ad account audit. So you guys know that I do a lot of the audits, one every almost 3 days. These are the metrics that I'm looking on a daily basis in the different periods. So I compare CPM, CPC, click-through rate, average watch time, thumbs up ratio, hold rate, purchases, CPA, ROAS, AOV, conversion rate, and MER if I have the data. When you input all of these numbers, you would see, okay, our CPM went down from 20 to 15, our click rate went down from 1.5 to 1.1. When we have lower click rate, people are buying probably less, conversion rate is lower, and stuff like that. So when you have those numbers, you can easily spot why ROAS went down or up and which lever you pull that actually had an impact on that ROAS. Now, creative analysis. So this is something that I use when I split test my ads. So this is the template for the different variations of the same ad. Let's say everything is running under Inspire page. Funnel is VSL, spend is $50 per each, watch time here it's like 5 seconds, here is 7 seconds, thumbs up ratio could be 45%, here it could be 35%, hold rate, I don't know, 35 and 35, so that's basically the same. And then, I mean, you get the point. When you input all of these numbers, you can easily identify, okay, which one is performing better. Obviously, this is more manual compared to the Motion. Motion is one tool that I strongly recommend for all the guys that are doing creative research, but these are the most important numbers that I look, and then I can identify, let's say that this one has ROAS of 2, this one has ROAS of 3. Okay, if everything is pretty much the same, what happened here? My thumbs up ratio is better. What is happening here? Why people are hooked into watching this video? I mean, this is mostly suitable for smaller brands, but I got a lot of questions of people, hey, how are you actually analyzing the numbers? So people that cannot afford themselves Motion, this is a pretty good way. Now we have this optimization. This is a calculator that tells us what percentage of people ends up buying after adding to cart, what percentage of people ends up buying after initiating checkout. So we can see that like here we have 8,800 purchases, 9,800 checkouts, and 13,100 add to carts. So that means that 90% of people that go to checkout ends up buying, 67% of people that add to cart ends up buying. So if we know what our target ROAS is, what our AOV, obviously we get our CPA target. But sometimes for more expensive products, you cannot wait until you get that CPA or like 3 times CPA. So sometimes you can use these numbers, cost per checkout, cost per initiate, cost per checkout, and cost per add to cart as an early indicator targets. So if I'm getting my cost per add to cart for like 27, there's probably a low chance that I would get my CPA at the target just because it's missing the first target in the funnel, which is my cost per add to cart. So obviously this is not always the case. Sometimes you would get more expensive add to carts, but cheaper purchases. But in most cases, based on the historic data, this is what can be your guidance. So this is also an easy chart when you should kill an ad and depending how long you should let it run. Basically you'll let it run for the at least one AOV, and if it got purchases, okay, whether it got like below the target CPA, if it got, okay, that's great. If it not, check the early indicator as cost per add to cart, cost per checkout, and then make your decision. So then this is a sheet that I'm using for all of my clients. I import the most important metrics, so basically ad spend, impression, clicks, carts, checkouts, sales, and purchase value, Shopify revenue, and triple whale or Norby ROAS if the client is using a third-party tracking software. This allows me to identify problems in my funnel on a day-to-day basis. So here how it looks for one of the client. So basically you can see here, okay, the CPMs were pretty good, click rate was not great, but our Shopify was decent, our Facebook MER was decent, our AOV was decent. Okay, when results started dropping, okay, what happened here? We started pushing, we doubled the budget from 4K to 9K. What happened? Obviously, this was like a November, so CPM started going up. Click rate did went up as well, but our results were not great, at least at that initial stage. Then, okay, here's like peak Black Friday. CPMs are huge, click rate is also pretty good, but we are averaging pretty good results. Why? Because conversion rate was way higher. You can see it's like over 3%. So when a client asks, hey, what's happening? Why results are down? I can say, hey man, but like our CPMs are up, our CPMs are down, or like our click rate is up or down. So I can easily identify where the opportunities in the funnel is and which metric actually had an impact on my ROAS drop. So these are the numbers from daily report, but they got accumulated in a weekly report. So basically for this client, there's like weekly report that tells me week by week, okay, what's changing? How are we pacing? What are the differences in CPM, CPC? Let's say in this case, CPMs pretty much stayed the same. CPC went down a bit. Why? Because we increased our click rate. Cost per checkout and cost per add to cart are cheaper. So our ROAS and our CPA are better. Why that happened? Well, AOV did not change much. It stayed the same, but our conversion rate slightly changed. So basically we improved the click rate a bit, we improved the conversion rate a bit. So our overall results are up, which means that our triple whale ROAS is up, our Facebook ROAS is up, and our MER is up. So we can actually compare the numbers on a daily basis and on a weekly basis, which is very crucial for the client. After that, there's this influencers calculation that I built. So basically I built 3 different calculators. This one tells us what revenue we need to actually get profitable from an influencer post. So we input these numbers on an average from an influencer. What's the reach or the impressions that influencer is getting? What's its click rate? If we know what our conversion rate in and what our AOV, we know, okay, if that client's reach 100,000 people, based on that click rate, we would get 5,000 people on the website, 100 of them will buy, and we would get 9K revenue. So we know, okay, if we have certain COGS, then we need to cover, let's say, if our COGS are 50%, we can allow ourselves to pay maximum 4.5K and to still be on a break even. This is a reverse influencer calculator, which basically tells us if we need to earn from influencer specific number, what is the reach that that influencer should get. This is useful when evaluating whether you should work with an influencer or not, because for example, if it needs to get at least 100K people reach, but it's usually getting the like 30-40K, then it probably doesn't make sense to go with that influencer, because you would probably not hit the revenue numbers that you need here. And this third calculator, which actually tells us based on the different scenarios, whether you're working with an influencer on a commission, basically you're paying them just a percentage of the sales, whether you're like paying them a flat fee or whether you're paying them both a flat fee and the commission. You input these numbers to actually understand how many sales you need to get to actually earn money. So this is something that I will share so you guys can play with. I will not explain all the sales, but you actually have this legend of what you need to change and what you don't need to change, and how you can actually understand whether it makes sense to work on a certain influencer based on their fees. And this is a very simple lifetime calculator. I know this is not perfect, and this is not a great illustrator, but some clients don't know how to calculate this LTV. Obviously this is the most simplest calculator, but it can be helpful because some clients that are into supplement business, into skincare, where people are buying multiple times from you and they're buying every month, then you should not base your decision based on AOV, but you should take LTV into consideration. So in this case, we got like 200 orders, we got 160 customers. That means that people bought on 1.25 time on average. 100, we know that like our LTV, or at least like 1 month or like 2 month LTV, is 125. So basically that means if I need a ROAS of 2, usually I would aim for break-even CPA of 50, because 100 divided by 2 is 50. But if I know I would actually get additional $25, then I can allow myself to pay 62 per sale and still be on a break even. So this is useful for all the clients that are into supplements and skincare business or whatever niche where people are buying multiple times from you. If you're an ecom brand spending at least 50K a month on Facebook ads and you want me to use these calculators in your business to extract the learnings from the numbers so we can actually scale your business, book a call with me below. If you're not on that level yet and you're just interested in more content about Facebook ads, just like and subscribe, and thank you. See you on the other side.